And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to be making one of my favorite dishes. That's going to be steak tips with a pan sauce. We're going to make a broccoli casserole to go alongside that, and a wonderful, easy Greek salad. So let's get started with the casserole, because actually that takes longer. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees, and in this pan I have some butter and a little tiny bit of olive oil. I want the flavor of the butter, but I want the cooking temperature of the olive oil. And I have a baking pan here that I've just put a little tiny bit of butter in to grease the sides. This is going to be our broccoli casserole, and this is so easy. And for those of you eating a low-carb diet, this is very low in carbohydrates. So I've got one small onion here that I'm going to just lightly saute in my pan. I'm using a white onion, but you can use a yellow onion, a red onion, a Vidalia onion. You could even use scallions if you wanted to. You just want a little bit of that onion flavor. Okay, get that in our pan. I love broccoli. It's just one of my favorite vegetables, and there are just so many ways of cooking broccoli. This is just one. I'm just going to saute that onion up till it's softened. I don't really want a whole lot of color on it. I just want to get it soft. And when that is beginning to soften up, we're going to add a little bit of garlic to it. About 1 to 2 cloves of crushed garlic. You use as much or as little as you like. I like garlic in my food, and it really is very good for you. And it adds so much flavor. And instantly, when that garlic hits that pan, you smell that wonderful, wonderful fragrance. We've got a little bit of salt, and I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. Freshly cracked black pepper. I just keep some freshly cracked in my little ramekin. Sometimes I use a pepper mill, and sometimes I grind it up fresh. Never the pre-ground stuff. It just does not taste the same. And I have never had anyone tell me that they prefer the pre-ground. It's always the other way around. Now I have here just 2 small bags of pre-chopped up broccoli florets. If you see any that are just particularly big, you can cut them into smaller pieces. Sometimes the pre-chopped does get a little big, but for the most part it's fine. I'm going to have 2 bags, which is going to be about a pound, or maybe about a bag and a half. We'll do about a bag and a half. And cut the end off of that one. All right, cut some of that stem. You really mainly want the florets. If there are any big pieces there, go ahead and cut them down just a little bit. Now you want to just lightly saute this. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. Kind of get that broccoli coated with the oil and the garlic and the onion flavor. Let it sort of steam for just a minute, because I'm using fresh broccoli. Now, if you were using frozen broccoli, you would want to thaw it first, and you can use frozen broccoli. You just need to make sure that you thaw it and drain out any of the liquids. I have in this bowl just some cheddar cheese. I need to plug up my mixer here. And some cream cheese. in this bowl. To that, I'm going to add a couple of eggs, one at a time. Make sure they're good. Okay, and we're going to mix this with some heavy cream, and we're going to make a sauce, basically is what we're making. All right, let's stir up our broccoli here. Smells so good. If you like a little heat, you could add some red pepper flakes to this too. We just want to mix these ingredients together and make kind of a sauce as the binder for our broccoli casserole. Get it as smooth as you can, and this goes much better if your cream cheese is at room temperature. You see how that just comes together? That's exactly what you want. Okay. All right, now let's turn off our heat. Pour the broccoli into your casserole. Oh, get all of that out of there. I'm a lefty. I got to do things backwards, so let's switch hands. Those of you that are left-handed understand the dilemma. All right, now get that in there in one even layer. Kind of press it down. And then we're going to pour this over top. Let's stir that up together, get some of that cheese through there. Just evenly across the broccoli. Okay. Just kind of stir that around a little bit. It smells so good. Okay. And then I'm going to top it with just a little bit more cheddar cheese. Now you could use Monterey Jack, Swiss, whatever kind of cheese that you wanted. I just like the flavor of the cheddar with it. This is going to go in a 350-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. I'm just going to pop this in the oven, clean up here, and when I come back, we're going to get started on our steak. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now our casserole is in the oven and we're going to get started on our beef tips. Now I'm using sirloin today. This is one of those dishes that you really do want to use a more tender cut of beef. This is not something that you would want to use like a round steak or the eye of round or a chuck steak. They need that longer cooking period to be tender. But a sirloin or a ribeye, a strip loin, tenderloin, anything like that will work in this recipe. Flank steak is actually my favorite in this, but they didn't have any at my store. So I have a pan here that I've got over medium-high heat. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Now I've already got a little bit sliced up because you want to do this in batches. So I'm going to show you how to slice, but I'm going to get some of it started. You want to hear that sizzle. You want this in a single layer. Okay. Now I'm going to cover this with a splatter guard because I really don't want to get grease on me. But I'm going to show you how. This is a particularly long piece of sirloin. I like to cut it in half and then cut it in half again. And as you can see, the grain kind of runs this way. You want to cut against the grain, no matter what cut of beef that you're using. And I like mine in little thin strips. If you're doing ribeye or tenderloin, you could do it in chunks. But for the sirloin, I think you need the thinner strips. This is a very easy recipe. But it is so, so good. This is a good picture to see the grain. Let me show you. You see how that grain is running that way? You want to cut against that so that it will be more tender. I'm going to cut out this little piece of fat on this particular steak because I don't want that gristle in my tips. Cut it against the grain. The reason for that is you're cutting the muscle fibers into shorter pieces and it'll be more tender. If you don't cut it against the grain, you will end up with a tougher piece of meat with more chew, and that's not what you want. Not in a dish like this. Any pieces of a gristle or excess pockets of fat like that, that's gristle. Cut that out. You don't want to eat that. That's never going to break down, and it's just going to remain tough. Okay? Now, let's check on our beef. Turn it over. You want to get it browned. Oh, yes. You want to see that. You want to see that golden brown. And your food will not develop that if you mess with it immediately upon putting it in the pan. It's got to have time, untouched, to develop that wonderful crispy golden. Now we're going to make a pan sauce to go in this, but that will add a lot of flavor. That golden wonderfulness will add some delicious flavors to our wonderful pan sauce. Now, oftentimes, in a steakhouse especially, used to, it's not as common anymore, but when I was younger, the steakhouses were much more popular where you could go in and order beef tips. They're just kind of, I'm thinking of little like the Ryans and the Bonanzas and the Western Sizzlers of the world. Those are kind of not as common. But you could order the beef tips with peppers and onions, and it would just be delicious. I'm going to add just a touch of salt to each skillet of steak that I have. Okay? And a traditional accompaniment to our beef tips would be sauteed peppers and onions. So I'm going to go ahead and be slicing my peppers and onions up. Cut it in half. You could use a red pepper, you could use a bell pepper, you could use, pretty much anything you want. Cut out that core and any of the ribs. I like just plain green bell peppers and onions with mine. It's just delicious. I love them with mine. And another way that you can do this is cut down the sides. Instead of cutting it in the center, cut down the sides, and you pretty well leave that core inside. Some people cut theirs that way. Up to you. And then just cut that bottom out, and you got that core. Either way, it really doesn't matter. Okay, let me check my beef tips. We need to do this in batches. This is going to take probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 batches. As it browns, you want to take it and remove the meat to a clean bowl. We're going to be putting it all back in the skillet after we make our sauce. So if you like your steak really well done, which some people do, you know, it is going to cook a little more. Some pieces are not cooked through, but that's okay. You cook it to your desired temperature. With the thinner cut, you know, it's pretty much all going to be medium well. Again, 1 layer. This is going to be about 3 batches or so. You might need to add a little bit more oil as you go. That's okay. Get it in 1 single layer. Be careful if you're using your fingers like I do. The only reason I can go straight from that to this is going to get cooked, so it's fine. I'm going to cut these into, you know, bite-sized pieces. Again, you could use a red pepper if you wanted, or, you know, the California long green peppers are good in this. Any kind of pepper that you want. If you don't want to use pepper and you just want to do onions, that's fine too. I do it both ways depending. If I have Vidalia onions, I usually just do onions. But I don't have any Vidalias today. Cut it into thin strips. All I'm going to do is just keep browning off the beef and chop up these vegetables. When I come back, the beef will be done and we'll make the gravy and start on our wonderful onions and pepper and our salad dressing. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Alrighty, now we've got our last batch of beef browned off, because you really do need to do this in batches. The reason is, if you were to put all of this meat in this skillet at one time, it would steam. Instead of getting that good, delicious brown, it would just steam. Now you want to leave the bits down in the bottom. We're going to make up a sauce just right in this pan. I've got 1 stick of butter that I'm going to melt. And my favorite steak sauce, you can use whatever is your favorite. And I'm using the whole bottle. Okay. Melt that together. And it is so good. And then we're going to coat our steak back in that sauce. It just melts together. This is an excellent steak sauce. You can melt this together in a separate saucepan, and then if you're grilling something on the grill, a steak of any kind, brush this on and then have any extras as a dipping sauce. It's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Now, as that is almost melted, what you want to do is put your steak back in there alongside any accumulated juices and get all that mixed up. And it is scrumptiously delicious. Let that go for about, I don't know, a minute maybe, just to kind of absorb some of those juices. And that's it. And that will be some of the best beef tips that you have ever eaten. That just needs to go for about a minute. And then we'll make our salad and our peppers and onions. I'll be back in just a second. Alrighty, now our beef is done. I just put it on our platter, and I've got a little bit of butter, and I'm going to add these peppers and onions to my pan. We're going to saute those, just cook them, saute them. I'm going to add just a touch of olive oil, not much, and some salt and pepper. Probably about half a teaspoon of each. And just let those go. This just takes a minute. While these are sauteing, we're going to make a quick, easy dressing for our salad. I like making my own dressings. If you've watched this program much at all, you know that, because you control the ingredients that are in your salad when you make them at home. I have in here just some olive oil and red wine vinegar. Just putting it all in the blender. All right. Some dried oregano, some salt and pepper, a little bit of crushed garlic. And I like the coarse-grained Dijon mustard, but you can get regular Dijon if that's what you want. I just really like that coarse-grained mustard. I do, for me. Now, I'm using sugar substitute, about half a teaspoon, but you could use regular sugar. I just eat low carb, so I want to eat the sugar substitute. And I got about 4 ounces of feta crumbles. Put all that in your blender. Stir your peppers and onions. Break up those little onion pieces as we go. Okay. And then we're going to turn this on. I like to hold my lid down. Start it out. It gets loud. Let it go for about 30 seconds. You need to taste for seasoning. See if we need to add anything else to it. Perfect. Just enough acidity. I use red wine vinegar, but you could use any kind of vinegar that you like. That's really good. That just adds a lot. That is full of flavor. You're not going to find that in a bottle in your grocery store. I don't care if you buy it in the refrigerated section or on the shelves. It's not going to taste as good as something you're going to make at home. And the thing about cooking your making your salad dressings at home, you're controlling the ingredients and you're not getting a lot of preservatives and all of that. And you saw it takes seconds if you have a blender. If you don't have a blender and you want to mix it by hand, it might take you a minute. Now I'm serving mine over some romaine lettuce leaves that I've chopped, some Kalamata olives because that's what I like. You could use green olives, you could use the black olives or a mixture, or leave the olives out, whatever you like in your salad. I've got some sliced English cucumber, the long skinny one, and just some additional crumbled up feta cheese. I am going to put a little bit of pepper. You do not need any more salt. You've got a lot of salt in the dressing and in the cheese. And then just pour that right over top of that. Don't dress your salad until just before serving, because what will happen is it'll break down that lettuce. But now I'm going to actually be serving that in just a second. And here are our delicious beef tips that we made. And our tips are cooking away here. Get that tall thing out of the way. We're still in our temporary location at the studio. Our permanent set is almost done, and I cannot wait to show you the new Everyday Manna set. It is beyond what I had envisioned. It is really, 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 really pretty. I could not be happier about it. All right, now, we've got our main dish, we've got our salad, and here is our delicious broccoli casserole that we made in the oven with fresh broccoli and onion, and we made a sauce with some cream cheese, some heavy cream, some cheddar cheese, some flavorings in there, and we just poured that over top of the broccoli and onion and garlic that we sauteed, topped it with just a little bit more cheddar cheese, and put it in a 350-degree oven. If you are eating a low-carb diet, all of this is for you. Even if you're not eating a low-carb diet, all of this is for you. This is just a delicious, easy, quick meal that you can put on your stove for your family or on your table for your family any day of the week. Our peppers and onions are pretty well done. You need to just take them to the level that you like cooked. Let's make some room on our platter for them. Or you can serve them separate, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. You do it however you like it. Need some tongs or something. Let's see, yeah, this will work. To get those out of the skillet. All right, serve that up alongside your beef, and you've got a delicious, quick, and easy meal that really is very good, and it can come together in no time at all. We've got our delicious beef tips in our pan sauce, peppers and onions, a wonderful Greek salad with a homemade salad dressing, and our delicious, delicious broccoli casserole. All of these things are good and healthy and good for you, and they are all low carb. So there you go. There's some recipes from my home to yours, some of our favorite foods. I hope you try these things. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna.
Thank you for watching Everyday Manna with Lisa. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is continually needed to keep Christian programming on the air.